Folks, the Edmonton Oilers had failed. Earlier today on BNR Open Ice, we had ourselves former Daily Faceoff insider Frank Seravalli going out there and talking about how the Edmonton Oilers were in the mix before Arturs Silovs was traded to Pittsburgh. This is a short video. It's 20 seconds long, and it features Frank giving the scoop. The quote was posted onto dailyhivesports.com. Edmonton Oilers tried to get Silovs before the Canucks traded him. A report from Preston Hodgkinson goes out there and has the quote itself. Edmonton is looking to upgrade its goaltending going into the new season, and Stan Bowman was reportedly eyeing up Silovs as a potential trade option. Silovs had since been traded to the Penguins from a few days ago, meaning that the Oilers' search for a new goaltender will have to continue into the summer. Frank Seravalli was the first to report the Oilers' interest on Tuesday morning. The Oilers were involved. I think another team was in the mix, but just couldn't quite get it done. The Oilers don't really have a ton to offer, and they weren't entirely sure that Silovs is better than what they have right now in Skinner and Pickard. Now that is quite the argument, and I do think that there is reason to debate whether or not Silovs is better or worse than Skinner or Pickard at this point in time. Now, I don't want to do the direct, compare and contrast thing between each of the three guys, because I think that's kind of redundant since Silovs spent the majority of his time last year in the AHL. But I do question, just sort of the dynamic there. If Edmonton was interested in acquiring Arturs Silovs, what kind of assets would they have been willing to offer? Was it really not as good as whatever it is Pittsburgh was thinking about, which was Chase Stillman and a 4th-round pick? Or was Vancouver's mindset more in the camp of, hey, we don't want to deal this guy to Edmonton. We don't want to send a potential starting goaltender down the line to a divisional rival? It's almost like the exact same thing that happened 12 years ago with Corey Schneider, when the Edmonton Oilers offered up a whole bunch to grab Schneider from Vancouver, but the Canucks took the lesser offer from the Devils because the Devils are playing New Jersey, and New Jersey is not just a province away from Vancouver. This has happened before. The only difference is Arturs Silovs is generally seen as a lot worse than Corey Schneider was seen back in 2012 and 2013. Yeah, that's a comparison that I'm actually here to make. Oh yeah, Corey Schneider ended up fetching a 1st-round pick for the Vancouver Canucks, 9th overall, which inevitably became Bo Horvat, and the Oilers were offering so much more than just 9th overall. They were offering a higher pick and a prospect and whatever, but Vancouver said, nah, sorry, we're going to trade him over to New Jersey. And there was some good reason behind that. Corey Schneider had 9.27 save percentage years in Vancouver. He had a 9.3 save percentage the year before that in 2012. 196 goals against average in 33 games played. Yeah, you can really see that back in this era of hockey, goaltending was a lot better compared to where things are nowadays. Arturs Silovs was literally one of the worst statistical goalies in the NHL this most previous year. His .861 save percentage and .365 goals against was terrible. It was literally second last. Only Caden Primo had a worse save percentage in totality in the National Hockey League compared to Arturs Silovs. So I can totally understand the mental gymnastics that one would have to go through to justify or walk away from an Arturs Silovs deal. For as bad as Stuart Skinner is, who, by the way, was the 29th worst goalie in the NHL with an .896 save percentage, you can very well say that Arturs Silovs was just worse. And a lot of the momentum for Silovs was based off of what he had done in the AHL, which, of course, that's not the NHL, and the sample that he had had in the NHL playoffs last year, where he had some really good games. He ended up leading the Canucks to the second round, Game 7 of the second round against Edmonton, but Silovs still only had an .898 save percentage and a .291 goals against in 10 games in that playoff run. Again, he did some really good things. The accomplishments are there. There was value to project onto Silovs based off of his body of work. But the numbers, the raw, hard saves and goals, not great. Now, ultimately, I will say that Silovs played probably a lot better than an .898 would imply. I think the Canucks did hang him out to dry a lot throughout the course of that playoff run, and you also have the fact that Silovs just could not stop any shots from long range. I mean, especially in the Game 7. You had Cody Ceci scoring long-range drives, and Vancouver only made it interesting because they scored 2 goals in the third period at the end of the game to bring it within 1. But ultimately they got eliminated, and even though Evander Kane said that that Canucks team in 23-24 could have made the finals, Vancouver was a victim of their own lack of drive and lack of forcing the play to go their way. That now we look at that Arturs Silovs performance in 2024 and just say, yeah, that was just a run for the ages for a guy. So for Edmonton, it is kind of intriguing that they would have been involved here. They would have been looking at the opponent that they had, the one that they were scoring all of those long-range goals on from long distance. Like, okay, we get it. The Oilers need improvements in net. But is a Calder Cup run, for the ages, by the way, it was a really good Calder Cup run, is that enough to convince Edmonton, oh yeah, this is a better guy than Skinner and Pickard? I guess not. If we head back over to the NHL and we look at these other guys, here's Stu Skinner, .896 save percentage in 2024-2025. The Edmonton Oilers did not really get the best goaltending out of either of these guys in the regular season, nor the playoffs. Sure, Cal Pickard had a .900 save percentage in 36 games in the regular season, but in the playoffs, Pickard was just a tad worse than Skinner, save percentage-wise. Skinner did have the higher GAA, but the higher save percentage too. So, really, it's kind of a mixed bag here. You can't really project too much into what the Edmonton Oilers have going on in net. And ultimately, because of that, I think there is enough uncertainty for Edmonton to not really put their foot down on the gas on an Arturs Silovs trade. They don't really feel too committed to making that deal happen, even though they were in the mix. Like, Seravalli is reporting that it was Pittsburgh, it was Edmonton, it was another team, apparently, that was in the mix or floating around whatever trade packages for Arturs Silovs. I do kind of wonder, though, because Seravalli says in the quote that the Oilers didn't really have a ton to offer. Neither did the Penguins, to be fair. It was just a former first-round pick that really isn't a first-round pick caliber prospect anymore, and a fourth-round pick. So what kind of assets were Edmonton offering in this trade? I don't know. Let's go over to the Edmonton Oilers and their Puckpedia page, just so we can see the structure of their draft capital status at the moment and what kind of prospects they have. Yeah, so okay, they don't have any fourth-round picks for the next 2 years. They probably would not have wanted to have traded a fourth-round pick in 2028 for Arturs Silovs. And then when you think about prospects, I mean, they do have some other guys that are in the system, non-roster guys. I mean, yeah, maybe the Oilers just could not have offered up a better package than the Pittsburgh Penguins ended up giving. So ultimately, with this in mind, I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about the idea that the Oilers were indeed involved in the Arturs Silovs trade conversation? Seravalli confirms it on BR Open Ice. They wanted this guy, they were trying to grab him, but then they ultimately decided that maybe it's not the best idea for them. What are your thoughts on what some sort of a trade package could have looked like? And do you think that the Oilers are better off with Skinner and Pickard? Let me know in the comments all your opinions. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.